Hello, everybody out there. It is time for Overcast, and this is episode number 22 of Overcast. I'm your host, Frostee. As you can see, I am flying solo right now. I don't know what happened with Chris this week. I think he might be unavailable again for a reason. It might be because of the holidays. It might be something else. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe his internet went out. I've not been able to get in contact with him today. But I am here. I'm going to bring you the latest from the world of Overwatch. I didn't mess up that time and say the latest from the world of Overcast, luckily. Remember to follow us on Twitter, though, if you want to get in touch with us. You can do that at Overcast Show, our blog page, which is theovercastshow.blogspot.com. You can also listen to the audio version, and we thank you for doing that at iTunes and Podbean, hopefully soon Stitcher and some other sources as well. This is also all under Frozen Fox Radio, and that is the network that we run under. So you can go to frozenfoxradio.com, and you can you can read all about this and all of our other shows that we have to offer on the network. So if you're into WoW or Heroes of the Storm, and we got some other upcoming shows that are going to be really exciting coming up. And you can also connect with us on our Facebook page and things like that. All these will be important as we move into the future and have more giveaways and things like that. So be on the lookout for that. If you can't already tell, I'm kind of sick. So if my voice sounds kind of weird, just try to bear with me. I'm trying to do my best, trying to make it through. But I hope everybody out there is doing well. If you're in the chat room, thank you very much for being here. It has been a fantastic week, except for one thing. Overwatch has now gone into its holiday break, you could say. So we have the holiday break with Overwatch, and we don't get to play it anymore, so that's kind of sad. I wrote it out to the very end, though. I had the finals of the last 2 weeks, which are thankfully over, which means I can play. And the sad thing is that, of course, the Overwatch beta goes on break the day of my final, like my last final. So it was like, oh, I'm free. Too bad. I don't get to play Overwatch anymore. So that was kind of sad. But I wrote it out to the very end. My last game was a victory. So, yes, I'll take it. I'll go out on a win. And we were waiting to skirmish for one more, and then the server went down. So, oh well, it was kind of sad. I guess that leaves time to analyze what happened, where we think Blizzard went good, where they maybe made some missteps with the beta, and talk about things like that. And in the meantime, I'm just going to be powering through a backlog of games that I've had for the last few months, because law school takes a lot of time, which means I buy games and they just sit there, or I play them for 5 minutes and they just sit there. So I'll be powering through that. Let's get on to the week's topics, though. One of the things that I wanted to talk about this week was the fact that Jeff Kaplan got in front of all of us again and gave us a developer update. And he wanted to talk to us about what was going on in the world of Overwatch, what he planned with the beta, what he saw about going forward, and where they felt everything was at. You can see him talking. You can't really hear him talking right now, but I just wanted to give you an idea of what it looked like this week. He let us know that they feel like the 21 heroes in the game feel really good. They play really well. I think that shows with the amount of balancing that they've been doing. Not a huge amount of tweaking, even though that we know that some of the characters are going to be, I don't know, you could say gutted. I don't know if that'd be the appropriate term for it. We know that, like, Bastion, for example, is going to be reworked pretty well. Probably Symmetra is going to get, I would think she's going to get kind of a rework, and maybe even a few others like we talked about last week. They said that the current hero set is, they called it well-balanced, fun, and unique. I would definitely say it's fun and unique. Some things need a little bit of tweaking on balance, maybe some not so much. We'll really just see it. And I think, when I play it, I need my salt with me, so I need Chris here this week, right? Excuse me. But I need Chris to kind of be the salt to tell me I'm wrong on this. Because I think that a lot of them play really well together. There are a few instances where some characters can become quite, I guess, they can get the upper hand. But I've noticed that as long as the team is willing to switch heroes and to counter them, almost any team can be defeated. And that's one thing where I think that the balance is pretty close to where they want it to be so far. There's definitely places they're going to have to change and things like that. But I think that's one of those signs to me that they're kind of in a place where they want to be. One of the biggest announcements, though, that came out of this was the fact that new heroes and new maps will be free content. They will not be paid DLC. They won't be stuck behind a paywall. You have to bear with me. If I breathe in too much, I start coughing like crazy. It'll kill all you. But there's no exact timeline on new heroes being added to the game. We know there's theories that there could be upwards of 30 that could possibly eventually be in the game. We just don't really know. We'll just have to kind of see where they go from here. But the big thing is we get everything. They add new things, we get it. We don't have to do anything for it. So everybody, that was like the last thing that a lot of people were holding on to. They were saying, I don't know. I don't know if I want to get Overwatch. I don't know if I want to get it. There's no excuse anymore. You pay it, you get all of it. You have to buy a season pass, any of this stuff. I love it. That makes me super happy to see. So there's that. We talked about some of the other things, like a permanent ability to disable kill cam if you want to, for sure. I personally don't really mind because I like seeing where the enemy team's at on the kill cam, things like that. You discussed that. Also be able to play sound in the background when you have the game alt-tabbed or minimized or anything like that. That is definitely an important thing because I alt-tab quite a bit when I'm waiting for a game. Especially the other games like WoW and Heroes and stuff like that. And to not be able to hear it in the background is kind of annoying. If it at least flashed, that would be fine, but they'll be working on making sure that works. Also, the music slider will be a thing that they're going to add independent, or they've already implemented internally. We just didn't make it into the build that we bought. I'm sure it'll be making it into the future build. And also more information about like a kill feed kind of thing. They're going to be working on that. We talked about that, I think, last week. Okay. One of the other things coming up was the end of round cards and the system, how they kind of implemented it. And we got to kind of experience it, for example, in the beta, and you've seen it if you've been watching streams, things like that. It's a really cool system, and it's a really cool idea. I love it a lot. I love being able to give props to people and see, oh, this person healed for 50% of the other team's damage. Like, that's crazy. So giving somebody props, or they participated in like 90% of the kills, things like that. Like, I think it's really cool, and it's really exciting to be able to, it's community building to me. I love it. And I think it's really good. But they are going to be improving it. There are some things that are kind of weird to me, like, I don't know, the fact that, like, some heroes, their abilities, like, when I see a card for it, I'm like, well, that's cool and all, but it doesn't seem like that's an attack, for example, that would be important to know about. But they are going to be doing other things like adding, I think what they want to do is flesh them out so that you can add things like objective score in there, because that is a huge thing that factors into whether you win or lose. If people are contesting, if people are capping, that's huge. If you're riding the payload all the way in, you have this huge objective score. I mean, why not? Why not vote for them? So we'll see what happens with that. An upcoming update, they said, will also add objective score if you're a defending team. So if you're contesting, you'll be able to get points for contesting the point, which, I mean, if you contest the point correctly and you're at the key moments, you're a game saver. So it'd be interesting to see how that all worked out. Other than that, they said they're not planning a lot of changes to the scoreboard. I mean, there's still a lot of people talking about the scoreboard. People are still, kind of railing on Blizzard about that, whether they should have a kill death, whether, KD ratio, whether they should do this or that. I'm not too displeased with the scoreboard, honestly. Maybe the formatting would be the only thing I'd want to change, especially like in-game. Like when you hit tab and you got like this huge thing that pops up, I think it could be condensed down a little bit. The only thing I'd have as an opinion with that. And they also want to tweak the fire system. And I agree with this because, like, playing Mercy, for example, I can be on fire in like the first minute of the game, and as long as I continue to heal people, it's like you just stay on fire. I think maybe, like, for example, with Mercy, they need to nerf how fast you can become on fire and things like that. I don't know. For other heroes, I'm sure there's other ways that you can do that. And I wonder, I've never actually tested it out to see if you can become on fire from gaining an objective score, because I think if you're riding the payload all the way in, you should be considered a threat. You're playing really well, but I don't know how that would factor in. That'd be something they'd probably have to test out. And so there's that. That was interesting. Jeff also sat down with another source, and that was with Eurogamer. So if you're familiar with that, a big publication there. So he sat down that we're going to talk about some of the changes that are going to be upcoming, where I got it right and where I got wrong last week, because answered some of the same questions that I had and that I'd speculated on. So the beta is closed though, like a lot of sadness, weeping and wailing went out last week, just a couple days ago now. And I want to talk about where, in just a couple of minutes, where I think the beta went right, where I think it went wrong. And I don't know. I'll start with the good news. How about that? Good news sound good to start with? It sounds good, right? Like, so we'll start with good. So let me take a sip here. All right. What I think they did really well with it is that it came earlier than we expected. That's one thing I like about it. The beta came, and we didn't have to wait until like January to have it. We got to experience it kind of like out of the blue. It came and it was like, hey, we're going to have the beta. They did a really good job of publicizing the beta, getting streamers in there, having the live stream, showing it off, saying this is what you expect, and then getting people in there to play it. The other things they delivered was the fact that the game is extremely polished. I think I only had the client side crash a couple times on me. I don't know about a lot of other people, but I haven't heard a lot of people saying it was very unstable for them either. Only a couple people I know, and I'm trying to track down more information about their systems to see if maybe it's something specific with them, but I'm not 100% sure. I only know two people that have had a really hard time getting it to work, and it seems to work across a wide array of systems as well, so that seems to be a good thing. What are the other things they did good? Okay, a lot of people are really going to hate this. It's going to be this is where I'm going to cross between good and bad, but there's a good thing because I think that limiting the size of people in the beta itself was a good idea. Like I think that was important because it loses a little bit of luster and it just becomes like a free play. It's like to me it feels like Battlefront. Okay, I loved Battlefront when it was in beta. It was like a lot of fun. And then Battlefront came out and I'm just like, "Oh, Battlefront." I didn't even buy it because it just didn't seem like it was that exciting. All the reviews, all the people I talked to, it just seemed like the game wasn't as good as it was, in beta. It was like if you had fun in beta, that's about as much fun as you're gonna have in the game. I don't know if that's true personally, but that's what I've heard. Um, I feel like if everybody got to play Overwatch, if they invited like 100 times as many people or something, and everybody got to play, there'd be a lot of people that'd be like, oh, this game's really fun, but now like this other game came out, and they would just move on like it was like the natural progression. And I think that's one thing they did that was right. They also were pretty open about how long it was going to last. We knew it was going to last until sometime around now, and they also were pretty open about saying, hey, here is you know when it's going to end, and then also now we know when it's going to start back up. They were pretty transparent about that. Jeff's updates, his videos, that was another thing they did really well. Kind of getting, not just posting something on the internet, like text, putting on the message boards or something like that. Actually getting in front of us with his beard. I guess I'm trying to imitate him or something. Maybe that's why I put him side by side. But getting up there in front of us, telling us what he thought, where we were at, answering a lot of people directly, not directly, but a lot of the major concerns of the community. I thought that was really cool. That this team is really, I think, focused on the community and doing the game justice and doing right by everybody. And they're hearing us, and I know that people that are working behind the scenes, like they are doing a fantastic job because they're listening to us, and they really want this game to be one that is awesome and it's great to play. The beta itself is fantastic to play, and the game itself, as a whole, is excellent. One of the last things I think I want to say that they did good was when things came out at BlizzCon and were announced, we got to play them the next week in the beta. We didn't have to wait for it. It wasn't like, yeah, it's gonna just work. You're gonna have to play that when it happens down the road when the game's released. We got to play it like right after and give feedback on it immediately, and that was fantastic. All right, what did they do not right? I'm gonna flip flop here. You accused me of flip flopping, but the way that people seem to be invited it was kind of willy-nilly how people got into the beta, and there was a lot of people in the community that I know wanted in, and they got in, and there was a lot of people I know they wanted in, they didn't get in, and there's a lot of people I know that they wanted in, but they only play on Mac, and they got in and they couldn't play because they don't have a PC, and they had a hard time with that. So I think that's one thing that they maybe could have been more transparent about beforehand, is the fact that it wasn't being developed on Mac at this time, and I haven't heard any updates about that, so I don't even know going forward what the plan is. I'm assuming that it's still going to be, working on Mac, but we'll just have to see. So tough luck, Apple users, but I mean, I'm sorry, I personally do not like Apple, so it's fine for me. But if it was the other way around, I'm sure I'd feel differently. So I guess I got to feel you on that one. So if they would have said beforehand that, hey, if you're a Mac person, don't even bother. And if they would have, I think, I don't know what might have happened. Some of them are streamers and stuff like that. So I wonder if maybe they got flagged that way. But I'm not 100% sure on that. We'll just have to see. What else might have been bad? Oh, it's kind of tough because I think one of the things is and I don't know for sure if this is the problem, but I think internally in the game, as people got better in the game, and they played at different hours of the day, and you got the long queue times. And I think what they did is they eventually started to relax. Like, they invited people in, which is fine, and that kind of gives more breadth to the pool of people that can play. But what happened is you still got people, I think, that were really good, and people that were kind of in the middle, and people that maybe weren't so good or they were new to the game and new to the FPS genre in general. And I think I'm not think I'm elite by any means. I think I'm in the middle. And I didn't ever have to experience the long wait times, but I know people that are really high skilled and they had really long wait times. And I think like the rank, like the player ranking system behind the scenes that kind of does the matchmaking, it might have been a little rigid at the beginning, and that might be what it was. But that's just my personal theory, and it might be completely false. So don't believe it. What else? The only other thing that I think was bad, but it's going to be rectified, is the fact that we didn't get all the systems that we saw in the beta stream leading up to it. So things like the progression system and stuff like that. We didn't get to play that, and that was kind of sad, because it was kind of like, oh, we got to see it, and we got to see other people playing it, and then we didn't get to touch it. And it's like, oh, I wanted that. I wanted to play that. So there's some good and bad. Hopefully, if Chris is here next week, I'll get his opinion on that. Maybe he can dish out some salt. I need a salt shaker for that. Just, salt shaker I can just dump out. Excuse me while I take a drink. Sorry. All right. But, like I said, Jeff did another interview with Eurogamer. And this Eurogamer interview, it gave me some information that was very exciting. Because I'd speculated last week on a lot of things. And I wanted to make sure, I was kind of thinking like, oh, is this going to happen or anything? And I never got in touch with anybody from Blizz on Definites, and then this interview came out, so Blizz like reads my mind, I guess. But the progression system will be in place when the beta comes back. So when the beta comes back and we get to play it in January, we'll be able to try out the actual progression system. There's 2 different progression systems in the past that were scrapped for the one that they have now, and they don't want it to be a burden that like kind of pigeonholes you into playing a certain way, is what they said. So there's no power, and there's also no player boosts or anything like that. You're not going to get more powerful by the progression system. It's just cosmetic stuff, just stuff that looks cool, and I think that's fine, because it's just like Heroes to me. You don't get anything. Maybe talent gating at the beginning, but that put that aside because we don't have that. It's fine to me, just cosmetic stuff. I mean, if I can have a blue Mercy, I'm like good. I'm sold, I guess. That's all I need. But they want it based more on time investment than skill, but they also want to balance it so that skilled players will be able to progress a little faster. So we'll see how it plays out. I'm excited to see. I wonder what the other 2 systems were too. So I wonder if that's why we didn't see the system, so maybe we can X that out of the bad, I don't know. Maybe the other system that we saw during the streams was one of the ones that was scrapped. But overall, he expressed the fact that Blizzard's very happy about how the beta has gone. And also that there will be at least one more wave of beta invites. So I'm assuming this is in addition to stress test weekend. And my other question about stress test weekend is if they do another stress test weekend, which they said sadly that they were not sure that they're going to do another one, which that kind of was sad. That debunked my theory that they would do another one and what I had assumed and from what I heard. And that made it sound like, okay, well, maybe not. I wonder if they're going to bring back the same people that were in the stress test weekend before, or if they'll bring a new group of players. That's kind of what I'm wondering for sure. But they didn't say anything about that. But we know there will be at least one more wave. That's what they did say. People have wondered then, well, what's the monetization? Because people are going to buy the game and that's it. It doesn't sound like the Blizzard way, right? I don't know, or like the way that everybody kind of saw the game playing out. And I don't think it's really a bad thing, at all. The pay model. What they said is they're happy about future editions, being received well, and they haven't really decided any ways post-launch to monetize the game, and really just worrying about launching the game in the first place. And if it happens, it happens. I guess is what it sounds like. It doesn't sound like they really have a huge plan to do it because I think if the game gets out there and people love playing it, and they can introduce more heroes and maps, and the game continues to be viable and exciting, and they continue to patch it and make it better, the game will itself ride out, any monetization because people will continue to play it, and that alone is invaluable to Blizzard, I think. We'll have to see what they do with that. And they haven't fleshed out, the last thing they said is they haven't fleshed out the ranked system, and they want to figure out how to keep it from being toxic. That's one of the main focuses we've always kind of known about Overwatch. It's trying to keep the game from being a toxic environment. And for the most part, I haven't run into that. I don't know if other people's experiences have been that way, but I like to talk to people in voice chat when I'm playing it. I try to get people's opinions and feelings. And even on losing teams, even if people like are new to FPS, I haven't run into any environments that seem really that toxic and people really raging or anything like that. And I could ask my wife because she's playing. She's very new to FPS genre herself, not that experienced, and she was in a match with us, and she'd probably be mad if I say that she wasn't really contributing for the first few minutes of the match because she was kind of getting her bearings in the game. But there was no raging about that, and we still had a great match. Actually, it was really competitive as we kind of went along, even if somebody was brand new to the game and brand new to shooters overall. So we'll see. I think maybe it's just people being super excited about playing beta. I don't know. But when the game launches and the masses have it, everything could just go out the window. So I think that brings us to the end of the topics that I wanted to go over. I really wanted to just run through those interviews and talk about kind of, where we were. We went through beta. We had some speculation last week. I wanted to wrap that up. So yes, we're gonna have the progression system. Super excited about that. I hope some of the cosmetic things are implemented, but that kind of depends on if the art team is able to get that done. I'm sure. I bet that's one of the kind of limiting factors to that. So we'll kind of see where that goes. Otherwise, I think that's pretty much all I have for the week. I don't know if anybody in chat has any questions. I haven't seen any. Remember, you can always ask us questions if you're here in the live chat. You can always also do it on Twitter. You just use the hashtag #AskOvercast. You don't even have to tweet it at us. We'll look for it ourselves. You can even send us an email, which is askovercast@gmail.com. If you have any questions for the show, you have any questions for me, you want me to I can give you cooking tips if you want. Heck, you just ask me the question, I'll answer it. So that's all you need to do. It's easy like that. So I do want to encourage you to make sure you go follow @Overcast Show on Twitter. You'll see the latest updates from us. You also get links to anything we link to. I like to link a lot of fan art on there myself. A lot of great community artists. In the future, look for some more guests to be coming on the show. I was hoping to get some more this month. I don't know if we're going to be able to get them in. We should be having a show next week, I think. So look for us this week. Unless something comes up, we're getting close to the holidays, so things get a little crazy, and we're going to be going out of town. So the week of Christmas, no show. All the Frozen Fox Radio Network shows are going to be taking Christmas week off. So no show that week, but we'll be back on the air the week after. I don't know about guests. Maybe this month it might be a little crazy. I'll see what I can work out. But next month, for sure, we'll start getting some more guests in the community in and see what their opinion of the beta was and kind of wrap things up for them and see where everybody is looking going ahead. Remember, also follow the blog pages of the overcastshow.blogspot.com, where I link anything in the show that was pertinent. I'll link to like Jeff's video and things like that. And also, if you're listening on iTunes or Podbean, thank you very much for listening to the audio version. Give us a good review or thumbs up or however it works on iTunes nowadays. And also go to frozenfoxradio.com, the parent studio of this and all of our other shows. You can go and see what's going on in all those other universes. But again, I want you to thank everyone. Thank you for showing up in chat. Thank you for being part of this awesome community that loves Overwatch. I'm Frostee. Have a fantastic week. I'll see you next week.